Hello, we are Sornia. We are, as you know, a collective of various backgrounds, various energies, you might say, various degrees of evolution. And we don't like to emphasize the degree of evolution in a sense of it being someone superior to another, but it's kind of what it is, not in the sense of being superior, but farther along, more experience, more older. So we want to talk a little bit about that with you because we want to touch on some what you might call historical facts so that you can feel a little bit more confident when you seek to understand who you are in relationship to the cosmos, in relationship to everything that is. And we've talked about some of these things at different times, but we felt that it was important to come forward with this during this time because many of you that are awakening to very deep connections, understanding that very deep connection that you have with what you call source or God, creator, that is becoming more prominent for you. You're understanding it. So a little bit of history, because all of you have varying degrees of experience and varying degrees of age, if you will, even though we in spirit, you also do not consider age in the same way you do in human form. So we ask you very kindly, we should say, to listen to what we share with you with your heart. Of course, you're listening with your ears and with your mind, but really listen with your heart when we come forward, because by doing that, you are aligned with your true nature, because your true nature senses its world, its surroundings, its essence, and the essence of others through what you would call in your human form your heart center. And it's designed that way so that you can have an understanding of where to go. So the essence of you in your heart center, some of you may feel it in other areas, but in human form, you will find the pathway to your deeper understanding of your own history, basically, because each of you has a unique history. And you'll do that through the heart, along with hearing what we say and using your mind to interpret what we have to say, because we must use language. And that is a necessary component in communicating at this time with all of you who are working with us and those that are beginning to understand their role. So we mentioned talking about your history. So we can't say to each one of you individually at this moment where you've come from and what your history is, but we are going to give you a general sense of that in regards to it being an important aspect of your ability to understand your own evolution. So many of you that are older came with what you would call that initial phase. Some people call it a wave, that initial wave. And the souls that came forward in that initial wave or initial phase are souls that have their origins primarily in the Pleiades, although some of you have your origins in the Syrian realm. As you've moved on with your time in human form, that has changed a little bit because you've incorporated, not so much incorporated, but other beings of light have come forward in order to assist you in your journey on Earth. And some of them are Acturian, some of them are from realms that are associated with the Pleiades. And this would be your second and third waves. You've had fourth and fifth waves as well, but there's still the fundamental origins from the Pleiades and from Syrian and the Acturian, but other dimensional realities that are on the fringes of your universe, that have come into your universe, have also joined in this experience of being in human form. And they are the ones that are primarily in this most recent phase or wave, which you are, since this all began, this would be the seventh wave of light workers coming through. Some of you are recycled, and don't take that the wrong way. We kind of meant it as a little bit of a joke. You're recycling. You were part of the first phase and you left in some way or another early, and you've come back in with this next phase. So this last phase or wave, this seventh one that has come in with this most recent generation, is a real mix of Pleiadian, Syrian, Acturian. There are some that are from the core of Earth that you also have, that are coming up from, they have resided in the core of Earth. And then you have those who are on the fringes. Their planetary systems are in other universes that touch the universe in which Earth is. So there is a huge, huge influx of light beings, light workers, however you define them, coming forward at this time in this next wave. And we don't know exactly what they will be capable of doing, but they have a very keen sense of their duty to the greater good, to all that is. And out of that, now again, not all that are being born in the last 10 to 15 years, not all of them are light workers, just like not all of each phase were evolved beings. But this has the largest concentration of advanced light beings that has yet to be integrated or born into the third dimensional Earth reality. So what does that mean? We said we wanted to talk about your history, and in a sense, your history is in one of these phases here. So kind of get an idea. Those who are older, and we don't really know the ages because it's not exact, but those who are older, who are, nearing more the retirement age and such like that. Maybe let's do it in your terms of like baby boomers, you called them. And that group was what you would call your first wave of light workers. It's not like there weren't some here before, but we're talking about the focus on bringing in that information to be the way showers for the divine light and love, for the ascension. This first group that we'll just say baby boomers, although it extended a little bit before and a little bit after, this group did not have as many. So many of you who are in that category, let's say nearing retirement or already in retirement age, baby boomers, as you say, you were more of a handful compared to what has come subsequently. Then the next generation, so to speak, of a grouping was the group more or less 20 years of time after what you call the baby boomers. So that group that came forward increased the amount of light workers coming through due to the work that those that were in the first wave did, and so on. It went down like that. So those of you who find yourselves in the, say you are in your 20s and 30s, you're in a group that there are many, many who have stepped forward and taken on the human condition in that human role in order to assist in the ascension and bringing forth of the Christ consciousness and this evolution of humanity and freeing them, etc., etc. So that's the group that right now has the largest number of those light workers that are actually out and working, and healers and intuitives working with alternative forms of medicine, rediscovering the traditional ways. I mean, it's pretty vast because they are of an adult age that they are able to do that. Many of them are looking for ways of bringing community together and such. They're a very evolved group. But this last group that we would say are coming in now up until like 15 years old has the largest concentration of advanced beings from dimensions that we would say are closer to the 12th dimensional reality than any other time. And that is because of all of the groups that have come forward before have been able to energetically lay the foundation for these subsequent phases or waves to come forward. Now, like we said, some of you are recycling through this. Some of you may find yourselves in that 20 to 30-year-old group, but you were part of what you call the baby boomer group. Initially, you left that physical form and you reincarnated. So there's so much. We cannot go into it in an individual way, but we brought this up because there's history here that all of you have connections to other realms that are outside of the earthly existence, and you are still very strongly connected to these realms through your own soul connection and that memory. And what's happening and why we're bringing this up is many of you are beginning to experience a conscious, awake memory, not just a feeling, not just a deja vu, not just an inkling, but clear memories of having been in these alternate realities. We don't even like to say alternate realities, these coexisting realities, this multi-dimensional reality, right? So you're beginning to experience, it's just at the beginning, but it's starting to happen where you are beginning to experience the multi-dimensionality nature of your being, if that makes sense. You're beginning to consciously be aware of you as another character, if you will, in another reality. And sometimes it matches a lot with the one that you are currently experiencing third dimensional Earth. And some of them maybe seem extremely far out and almost unbelievable. Why are we bringing this up? And if you're not having, let me just make a side note. And if you're not having this experience, don't feel that there is something that you're doing wrong. It's not that. It's just that it's just beginning with this new wave of souls that are coming in that are really bringing in this higher frequency and vibration through their own essence. So this ability to understand yourselves as multidimensional beings is just really beginning. Some of you are farther along and some of you haven't yet experienced it. But ultimately, that is the goal in terms of what it is that you want and when you have chosen to experience here on Earth in this third dimensional reality. Hopefully we're not confusing you with this information. We're trying to keep it as light and superficial in a sense as possible because it goes very deep and it has many implications for your journey here. And we will probably touch on it at various times over the coming weeks, how this is all manifesting. But we're bringing this up for a couple of reasons. One that we just mentioned, because some of you are experiencing this, but also for those with that awareness to look at the souls that are coming in, these younger souls, this last wave, what we're calling the seventh wave. This group of souls here took on the human form. They're very advanced. As we said, many of them are coming from a 12th dimensional reality. And a lot of them do not understand. They're confused. They are being triggered in a way in which we could not have anticipated in their physical form to, in a sense, give up is the best way of putting it. So you might encounter these very evolved beings and know and see them in your daily life. You may see them when you're out shopping or walking the streets, and you may see these younger people who look like they have given up on life or they're absent. And these are the individuals that are struggling with that disconnect from who they really are and into human form. And we're asking that all of you be aware. Some of you may have children that are part of this wave. It's mostly from like 15, 16 years and younger, but they have a disconnect. And we would not advise you to try to repair that disconnect through medication. You'll find ways that are holistic in nature that will work quite well with those that are struggling with the disconnect. And you will know them. As we said, some of you, they may be your children, or they're your friends' children or neighbors. You will really want to be observant of this. They are coming in to assist with this growth, this awakening, the ascension, and they're a little tripped up. Not all of them, of course, but they are tripped up. And the reason why we bring up medication is because this has such an adverse effect on them and completes the disconnection that they are feeling. Almost makes it, while they have the medication in their system, almost makes it impossible for them to feel their connection to source. So, again, we're not saying, oh, do this or do that. We're just telling you what happens and you make those decisions. Much support is needed for these individuals. And those who are of that initial wave that are there will understand it. You will see it. And our advice to you is, if you encounter someone there in your life and in that way, that you hold them energetically in a state from you, coming from you, of unconditional love and compassion. That is what will help them to disentangle this disconnect that they are experiencing. They are very highly sensitive and will respond quite quickly to compassion, to quiet, to feel. They communicate more telepathically. Not more, they communicate solely telepathically when they are not in human form. So that, you see, that's the other difficulty. You may notice that these individuals aren't very articulate in their expression using different language. So you will want to find other ways of communication, and that's more of a telepathic communication, and you're all capable of it. So wherever you find yourself, you are all very strong. Each wave has mastered quite a bit of the density, how to manage this density of the third dimension and moving through it. But this last group is the group that needs your assistance right now. So when we said we want to talk about history, in a sense, goes into the deep historical essence of all of you, but know that all of you that hear these messages have your origins in some multi-dimensional reality connected to Earth, but that it is a reality where you have already done what you're doing here on Earth, in the sense of helping to bring in the Christ consciousness, divine light and love, however you want to define it. You've done this in other places, whether it be the Pleiades, Sirius, wherever it is, you've done this before. This is your role. You assist in bringing the light to entrapped worlds. So you're all capable of doing that. for a moment over the next few weeks, your attention, yes, should always be that you have your attention inward where you find your guidance, but we want you to be observant outward. You may find these individuals from the seventh wave, where you go and buy coffee, and you may recognize them. And there's nothing wrong with you being a conduit to them and emanating to them unconditional love and compassion. That will reach them in ways in which you will be pleasantly surprised. So it may manifest, some of these individuals are angry because they're feeling this frustration. They're all wound up and they don't know where to go, and they cannot express themselves easily with the language. They're not adjusting well. They do better telepathically. So when you telepathically send them that unconditional love and compassion, they receive that in a very powerful way. So go forward, my friends, and continue your acts of kindness, your acts of presence and goodness, that you are being those beacons of light for those that are in need of that from you. We're very impressed with what everyone is doing. You hear our messages and you take them to heart. And we really appreciate that because, as you know, we have a relationship with you that is ongoing. What we have noticed, we wanted to share this with you, even though you may be coming to tough times. Some of you may be experiencing some tough times right now. We see all of you being more committed to yourselves, more committed to the greater good. And there's this bravery and courage that we are noticing along with your faith. We don't know which came first, faith, bravery, courage, but we're seeing that. We see those vibrational frequencies. So because of that, we know that what you are carrying into the earth reality is really having a strong impact and influence. So keep doing it. Remember that. Use these messages as a form of encouragement. That is what we are trying to do for all of you. Give you information that we can. And we will tell you if there are things for you to be aware of, but there's never a reason ever for you to be afraid, fearful in any way for anything, because you've got this. We've got this. We're doing this. We are really excelling at what it is that we plan to do, and that is to bring that beautiful divine light and love, that Christ consciousness, to all of the planet by being conduits, by being that for your world. Very impressive. Yeah, it may look at times like people are not understanding. Don't look at that. Remember, what you focus on is what becomes kind of your reality and your belief. So pull yourself back and focus on where you're finding the goodness. And there's so much goodness in your world. And it's oftentimes done by those of you hearing these messages, those that you love, that are dear to you. There's a lot of goodness on your planet, and more is coming forward. We're very excited. We know that it's not always easy for all of you to be kind of in the unknown territory, like how are things moving, and being in that physical form that prevents you from knowing everything. But that's changing. That's what we were talking about. You will start to experience yourselves differently. Each of you will do it in your own time. So keep having that faith, that strength, that courage, that bravery that you have. It's touching many other people's lives. And always joy and gratitude for everything. You are safe. You cannot be harmed. You are protected. And you are strong and capable of what it is that comes your way, of managing it, whatever comes your way. We want to thank you, as always, for all that you do. We are here for you. We love you very much. We are Sornia. Goodbye.